Well, welcome to LodeStar 8, Getting Started. I'm just delighted that you've joined us. So with LodeStar, you have a number of templates, and those are all arrayed here on the screen. The one that we'll focus on today will be Activity Maker. It's the Swiss Army knife of LodeStar templates. You can do a lot with it. The other templates are extremely useful, and in future sessions, we'll cover those. So I'm going to begin a project. I'll just call this C19. The objective of this project is to help people understand, the COVID virus. And the reason why I'm choosing this particular subject at this point of time is because there's just an abundance of material. And what this will help illustrate is the ability of LodeStar to integrate the various pieces so that you're not stuck with generating content, but you can focus more on the interaction, checking for understanding of your students, as opposed to, creating text and generating imagery and so forth. We can just bring that all in. So we're going to call this project C19. We'll hit OK. And so now LodeStar is just, gathering everything it needs and placing it in a folder called C19, which is in the projects folder, which is in the LodeStar folder. So on your computer's hard drive, you essentially have all the ingredients inside this one folder. And if you wanted to, you could actually take that folder and put it on a web server and just point to index.htm. So in other words, you don't need anything special. LodeStar works with all standard technology. Now, of course, you could also export. So when we're done with our project, we could export and export as a SCORM package. SCORM means Shareable Content Object Reference Model. So basically, it's just a fancy word, which means it follows a standard that all of the major learning management systems follow. And that is all the systems like D2L, Brightspace, Blackboard, Moodle, Canvas, Schoology. They all accept SCORM packages, which is exactly what LodeStar accepts. So here we have the interface. We have our first page. So we have page 1 of 1. And this particular page is text type. So we have a whole list of page types. And currently we're using the text page type. We have an HTML editor. We have this page ID field, and we're just going to call this introduction. We could include this in the table of contents, and I'll talk about these other features later. We also have in our HTML editor, we have this widget tool. And so we're able to place, for example, a multiple choice question on our text page, or many multiple choice questions. There's no limit. There's no limit to the number of questions on a page. There's no limit to the number of question options on a page. And there are a whole variety of other types of widgets that we could place on a text page. I just added a return to ensure that I have the ability to, add content before and after the image that I'm about to bring in. So I'll click on the image tool. And this dialog just simply tells us that to get a new image, we choose the Get Image button. If for some reason we can't find our image, or if we're not linking to our image properly, we can always click on Pick Image, which displays a list of images that are on this current page. Pasting from the web, we're able to bring in an image. If we copied an image from a web page, we're able to paste it in from that web page. But we'll choose Get Image for now. And that'll send us to a directory. It always remembers the last directory we're on. I'm going to choose this title. This dialog box is asking us, do we want to optimize the image size? Normally you just answer yes, but if you had an animated GIF, you would answer no, because what LodeStar does is it resamples the image, and you don't want it to resample an animated GIF because it would eliminate the animation. So we'll choose yes. And then you'll notice that we have a fixed width and fixed height. Well, that's bad practice. What we'll do instead is make this responsive. In other words, the image will properly scale down if we're using a smartphone versus a tablet versus a desktop. It assigns the image an ID, and then we're just going to go ahead and hit OK. Place my cursor to the well, I can actually highlight this. So if I click on the image, I go back into the dialog. If I just drag my mouse over top, then I can center that image, which I've done. Now I'll go ahead and paste in some text. This is just verbiage related to the coronavirus. And let's just bring an image and we'll put it right here. So we'll place our cursor here and then we'll click on our tool, get image again. We'll take the spiky thing, again, yes. And this time let's make it 30%. So this is 30% of the screen width. We can add a caption to ensure this is accessible. So we'll do something like a graphic of the COVID virus. Now you'll notice that this particular image, so we have a block of text before and after. If we click on the image and we float it right, then the text is going to kind of wrap around. So that's it with this particular page. Let's add kind of a question that enables us to check for students' understanding of this, the kind of the power of exponents when it comes to virus and virus propagation. We'll add a page, and the way we'll add a page is clicking on this plus button. So the plus adds, the minus deletes a page, and this saves. So we'll add a page. We get this nice blank page. Again, it's a text page. Page type is the same as the preceding. We of course can change that, but we won't. We need a text page. Let's put in, so this will be kind of the title of the page. It's just kind of a leading question. We'll add a couple of returns and then add our widget. Later we'll format this, but I generally like to format things after bringing in the widget just so that the formatting doesn't bleed into the widget. I'll click on widget. We'll choose multiple choice. This interface is very common in LodeStar. This gives us the ability to add a question stem, which will pop right in here. This particular question, so if each week the number of corona cases doubles and we're now at 1 million cases, how many cases were there 1 month ago? So as of today, we've reached 1 million cases worldwide. Let's put in a point value. So we'll put in 5 points for this question. Here's our question stem, and our distractor. The distractor means question option. The right answer, which we'll put in, is going to be 62,500. We'll indicate that's correct. And then let's just provide some feedback. In this case, it's the right answer, so we don't have to provide much feedback. I will randomize these options. This button always adds an item. This button deletes an item. This reorders items, so pushes an item towards the back, towards the front. The next plausible answer is going to be 125,000. This is incorrect. We want to provide some corrective feedback here. If a student answered this, they would then see this feedback. We'll hit the plus again. put in another plausible answer. This is incorrect. We're going to indicate that. If you didn't bother doing anything, if you just left that blank, it would be incorrect. I'm going to I have to be explicit, right? Incorrect. Let the student know. And you could obviously be more graceful with your language. And let's add one more, just for good measure. Another plausible answer is 500,000. Again, it's incorrect. And we'll pop in some feedback. Okay. So if a student was thinking linearly, and then they might answer, a month ago, they might think it was 500,000. But if they understood exponents, then they would probably choose the right answer in this case. So I'll go ahead and hit OK. And that pops this widget. So this is kind of a placeholder. This is not what the student sees. I'll go ahead and format this now. I'll make this heading level 1. And now let's preview. So when we preview, LodeStar will currently, it will become its own server. So it'll act like a learning management system and serve up this page. And there's our page. This is out of the box. We're going to do something to spruce this up a little bit. So we have page 1 of 1, and then this is our question that's now rendered. If we answer incorrectly, we get this sort of verbose feedback, because what this is doing is it's making it accessible for students with, visual impairments. And it's being very, it's reading out, well, you correctly did not select 125,000, you didn't select 62. So you incorrectly did not select 62,500. So it's telling the student precisely what's happening. And this particular pop-up, it will alert itself to the screen reader so that screen readers catch this content. And then the student is alerted to the fact that there's a close button there. Also, we have inline that feedback, and then automatically we have a transcript, and the transcript records the question, records the student response, the correct response, and then the feedback. And then essentially this can end up being a study guide at the end. Okay, let's take a second now and just kind of spruce up that screen a little bit. So we'll choose Tools. And in terms of visual effect, we can change the layout of our project, change the themes, change the palettes. We won't change anything other than bringing in a background image. So we'll choose Get Image there. Then I have this wallpaper that I created in Photoshop. The only thing that I did in Photoshop was change the opacity of the photograph just so that it doesn't compete with the project. So I hit OK, and then let's just preview and see that change. So now we'll see our project kind of pop out of this background. This makes it visually more interesting. And there we go. And the reason why I changed the opacity is, again, so this kind of is in the background and doesn't compete with the foreground. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll add a page. Again, it's a text page. Notice back here, we didn't, so I went back a page. You should always title your pages. I'm able to navigate my pages through these buttons down below. On this page, I'd like to add an animation of the virus. So again, I'll click on the image. I'll get image. Here's a GIF file. I'll open it up. This time I'll select no because it is an animated GIF and I don't want LodeStar to resample it, but I do still want to, give it a size here. Let's just say 60%, being arbitrary about this. Notice that it came in and it floated right because of our prior setting. I don't want it to float, and the reason why I don't want it to float is that interferes with captions because I would like to add a caption. So I click on, so you have to do this in 2 steps. First, you bring in the image so that it's in the document, and then you choose caption. These are speech bubbles. This is a caption, and I'll go ahead and type in caption. I'll choose this, and you always have to choose color. So I'll select for my background kind of a dark gray, and then for my foreground a white, and there you go. There's my caption. Now what I would like to do is I don't want students to page forward onto this page. Rather, I want this to be a resource that gets called up. So I'll remove this page from the flow, and then I'll go back. This is a very powerful feature of LodeStar. It's the ability to create links. So we'll go ahead and create a link. You can link one page to another page, so you could have the student jump to the page, or you can display a page as an overlay. So here, now you can see why those titles, the page titles, are so important. This is a very, very simple form of branching. LodeStar supports much more sophisticated forms, but this is good enough for now. So here's where I bring in the page as an overlay, and if I don't click that, it means when the student clicks on coronavirus, they will jump to this animation page, even though it's out of the flow. So you can't navigate page by page into something that's out of the flow, but you can jump to it, you can branch to it. But I'll show it as an overlay in this case. And we'll come back to that. We'll see what that looks like. But in the meantime, what I'd like to do is add a different type of page. By the way, if I want to save, I just simply click on save, or when you preview, it automatically saves. So I'll go ahead, and what I did earlier is I went to a YouTube video, and in the address bar, so I watched the video, I liked it, and then I copied the address of the video. So as youtube.com, and then this is the specific ID of the video. I could also put in a start time or end time, and I'll go ahead and title this. Let's see what that looks like. So I'm now previewing my page. And there we go, a page forward. So here's our question again. And then remember the page that came after that was the animation. Well, that animation skipped because it's out of the flow. The way we can see the animation is by clicking on this link, and then up comes that animation. If we click outside of it or hit escape, we put that away. So now I'll go forward, and here's the video. So this is just a YouTube video.
So we need to get the facts straight. How does this virus work? How does it transmit? Where does it want to go? And let's protect ourselves. I'm Dr. Peter Lind. I'm a family physician in Toronto, Canada. Coronavirus is a family of viruses that can cause as
Now, if I kept that running and simply paged back or forward, it would automatically pause and then it just resumes where it left off. So the LodeStar is in effect commanding, it's communicating with YouTube through what's called an application program or interface, an API. So it's kind of smart about it. This is not an example, but many videos allow you to just jump full screen right from within LodeStar. Some videos have a restriction. They disable that particular feature, and this one does. It's an excellent video. Let's now close off of that. I'd like to demonstrate another very, very powerful feature, and that is being able to embed content. So I'll click on the plus sign. And again, this is a new page. It's a video page because it's following the preceding page. I'll change the page type to an iframe. And this allows us to bring in and embed content, which can be very useful. In this case, it's a slide share. I'll just title this slide share. And notice that I've taken the embed code from SlideShare, which is a site that I think everyone knows. My embed code starts with iframe. It starts with the iframe tag and ends with the iframe end tag. Sometimes when you copy embed codes, it gives you an extra div, kind of an HTML element, and I like to edit those out and just include the iframe. So now, we'll get back to this in a second. Let's add one more. I'll show you another example of embedding something. So we'll add a page. This is very powerful when it comes to viruses because this is a project produced by Insight Maker, which allows you to model the replication of a virus and the disease spreading through a community. Now, notice in my iframe, I used the full embed from iframe beginning tag to end tag. You can also take just the value of the source. Now, many of you won't understand what that is. Basically, this is SRC equals, and it's just the value that follows that. Don't worry about it. You can simply go to a site that allows you to share its content, and you select share or embed. It gives you some code. You paste it in. You don't really need to understand the code. It is helpful if you do understand the code because you can troubleshoot, but 9 times out of 10, things work pretty well just as is. Now, I'll label this page Insight Maker. Insight Maker, as you'll see very soon, a very, very powerful tool, and it's free of charge. Let's see what we get. Incidentally, if you're previewing and nothing happens, it's not working, the browser doesn't come up, get out of LodeStar and just try to start your default browser manually. Sometimes what happens is the browser needs to be updated or set up. And so if the browser doesn't launch normally, certainly LodeStar can't launch it. So again, LodeStar acts like a server, but brings up your default browser and then serves up the content to that browser. Here's our slide share. This slide share is pretty amazing because it has some great graphics. Now you see me popping this into full screen. And then of course there's text and so forth. Now our next page is the Insight Maker. And so this is now summoning up. So this is a clone of a model of the Italian outbreak. So this models the number of exposed. So this is kind of a bucket that contains a value, and then it feeds into the number of people who are infectious, and then from infectious, there's a survival rate, which we hope is higher than we're currently expecting. And then, of course, sadly, there's a death rate. There'll also be, this particular model doesn't include recovery cases, but you'll notice in Insight Maker, there are many, many models of outbreaks, and they do, they have exposed people who are infectious, and people who've, well, I guess this is recovered. I'm mistaken. This is just a different word for recovered, survived. Now, all of the logic is in here, and now we can simulate. We can go ahead and click on simulation, and then we see the number exposed, infectious, dead. And so you can see this all graphed out. And there's a number of things that you can do and control. You can watch this thing step by step. Tremendous tool, Insight Maker. And again, it's free of charge, and it'd be terrific for you to assign students to building their own models. Now we're getting to the point of needing to check understanding. We'll add a page, and then we'll change this page to a multiple choice question. You may be wondering why have a page type multiple choice question and a widget type? Well, there's advantages and disadvantages to both. With the widget, you can have any number of questions on a page. With the question, multiple choice page type, you can also include branching. So based on what people answer, you can have a number of things happen. It's got a very powerful branching mechanism that's attached at the page level and right down to the question option level. So here we'll add a question, and then let's provide the right answer option, the correct distractor. Then we'll put in a wrong answer. Let's put in some feedback based on that wrong answer. We'll click on the branch button here. Now, again, this allows for any number of branch types. We won't go into that in this session. Instead, we'll just simply show feedback here. So the cardiac, this is the incorrect. This is the incorrect answer. So we'll show feedback, and so want to make it explicit that it's incorrect. So in this case, the virus really attacks the lungs, and we'll provide that feedback. There's another wrong answer. We'll assign a point value. Go ahead, label our page. So we can have feedback that drills right down to the distractor level, or generally overall, we can have feedback if you got it overall correct, overall incorrect, and also randomize. And then finally, what I'd like to do is add a page. So how does this all get to the learning management system? Well, that's the report page. As soon as students encounter the report page, then it'll automatically report. So we'll go ahead and we'll add a little we'll add a little note. So we're just customizing this page with a note. If you find that your grades are not transferring into your grade book, then select Terminate after report. This is different. This kind of varies from learning management system to learning management system. But if you're experiencing any difficulty, just change this to Terminate after report. The upside is that it'll cure the transfer to the gradebook problem. The downside is as soon as the student hits this report page, that's it. Their communications with the learning management system are finished. So you can decide how you want to approach that. Let's go ahead and preview and see our final product, and then we'll export it. So we'll, again, preview in browser. It automatically saves. We see all the pages. Again, if we want to do more with the layout, so forth, there are tools to do that. Here's our question. So we'll choose, let's go back and answer a question here. And why is the COVID virus so dangerous? Well, its spikes can attach to the lung and replicate in the lung, okay, causing pneumonia. And we'll go ahead and submit that answer. We got that right. Now let's look at our transcript. So that we answer two questions. One we got incorrect, and then here's the right answer. Finally, here's our report page. So here's our little blurb. So you can customize it. You can put as much information as you want on the report page. Here's how we performed. This is our percentage. And then this is requesting a confirmation from the learning management system. But of course, we're not connected to a learning management system now. So it tells us that and tells us that our scores were not saved. And just in case anything went wrong for the student in a real situation, then they get feedback. Finally, to export all of this, I choose Export. There's a number of export options, but for now, the recommended one is the best, SCORM 1.3. Again, SCORM is a standard that all learning management systems follow. And I'll go ahead and I can put in a module name, and I can put in a topic name, and then who I am. Click on Create Export. So these steps right here, they'll just walk you through this. Now I have a zip file, and I simply take that zip file and upload it to a learning management system. Our FAQs on the LodeStar learning site provide step-by-step directions on how to do that, but it's pretty simple. So that's it. I went through some basics here. We added some pages. We chose at least 3 page types. We brought in a widget. We added a report page, and then finally exported. So those are the basics of LodeStar and LodeStar 8. And we're just so pleased that you've made it through to this point, that you've watched this video, and we hope that you download LodeStar and put it to good use. Thank you.